Well, it's payback time. My name is Dr. Flower. I have a PhD in psychology, so I'm not a wannabe or a knockoff. I've been teaching college and university courses for 20 years. Psychology is a vast field that connects to many things in your life. If you have a curious mind, you're definitely in the right place. This podcast will be interesting and informative, fun but factual. I will open your mind to new ideas and new ways of thinking. So sit back and enjoy the ride. The topic for today are introverts or extroverts better? The terms introversion and extroversion were first introduced into psychology about 100 years ago by Carl Jung. I might as well give you the bad news right now. Referring to people as introverts or extroverts is wrong.
Yes, but I see it all the time on the internet. It was shared on Facebook. There was a YouTube video and a link to a website, so it just has to be true.
So as I was just saying, referring to people simply as introverts or extroverts is wrong. It is a false dichotomy. Most people have temperaments that are mixed and in between the two extremes. Ambiverts, that's Ambiverts, combine elements of both extremes and are far more common. If you read something that mentions introverts and extroverts but not ambiverts, you are missing approximately 70% of the people in the middle category. So already we are off to a shaky start because asking who is better may not be a reasonable or fair question since it may be based on a false assumption. It's like trying to decide if salty snacks are better than sweet ones, if pie is better than cake, if donuts are better than pizza. They are all awesome in their own delicious way. The world is far more interesting when there are many different flavors and also many different people. If we were all the same, it would get really boring really fast. We would look like millions of Dolly the Sheep clones. Dolly the Sheep and her four sisters were clones or replicas of their mother, a breakthrough that happened in 1996. As clones, we would all be like identical twins. Do we really all want to wear the same clothes and know what the other person is going to say, do, or think? There would be no excitement, no adventure, no mystery, no surprises, no fun. No thanks, not for me. Hey, some really exciting news. Scientists have just recently found the gene that causes shyness. They would have discovered it much sooner, but it was hiding behind 3 other genes. I'm just kidding, folks. This never really happened. But it is true that the genes we inherit from mom and dad definitely influence our degree of introversion or extroversion. According to evidence from research with identical twins, the genes that we receive at conception are responsible for about 40 to 55% of this personality trait. So it is clear that genes have a significant impact on our personality. But this result also tells us that experience or life circumstances over time play an equally important role. My daughter admits that she has always been and continues to be mostly introverted. In fact, she has been very sensitive since early childhood. Our children were almost always very well behaved, but once in a while they did something wrong and had to be disciplined, usually in a gentle manner, never yelling, shaming, or spanking. But my daughter was always super ultra hypersensitive, and you know that super ultra hyper is the highest ranking anyone can achieve. Although we never yelled or scolded, she became upset whenever we frowned at her or even said the word no because it showed disapproval, and so she would just burst into tears. So we adjusted our response. We still said no to her, but always with a cheerful, happy smile so she wouldn't get upset and have a tear-filled meltdown. Of course, our son noticed this and complained about being treated unfairly. Why was he being punished for doing something wrong, but his sister was rewarded with a smiley face for the same mistake? A false dichotomy presents only 2 options or sides when really there are many more possibilities. It's something called black or white thinking. We do this usually to simplify an issue, but we are also losing important information. Referring to people as simply introverts or extroverts is a mistake. It suggests only two distinct categories and that everyone fits neatly into one of them. In order to better explain, I am going to talk briefly about the normal curve, also known as the bell curve. I promise it won't hurt very much, and it definitely won't be on the test. Of course there will be a test. How else can I decide if you pass or fail? The normal curve can be used to show the performance of thousands of people in one graph. It was made famous by the results on IQ tests, which show that the majority of people are in the normal range, or in the middle two-thirds of the graph. The curve follows the shape of a bell. As it slowly rises from left to right, reaches a high point in the middle, then descends slowly down the other side. The normal or bell curve is symmetrical, so that the shape on the left side mirrors the shape on the right. The bell curve also applies to introversion, extroversion. This means the majority of people, about 70%, fall into the middle section, while relatively few people are found on the left or right sides. The middle majority are called ambiverts, sort of like the word ambidextrous. Ambiverts will use both introvert and extrovert behaviors depending on different situations or circumstances. They are more flexible and versatile. As we move towards the extreme left or right side of the curve, about 15% of us are more highly introverted, while 15% of us are more highly extroverted. But even these people will sometimes show behaviors that are opposite to their typical style. We are not clones or computers that follow the exact program every time. We adjust our behavior to a specific situation. So anyone who refers to introversion and extroversion as a simple dichotomy is just simple-minded and is simply wrong. It's as simple as that. In reality, most of us are ambiverts most of the time. And really, the ambivert's ability to adjust his or her style to suit the situation makes a lot of sense. So I will use the term introverts and extroverts only as a shortcut, just for convenience. In fact, always imagine a wide range of possibilities. This is actually true for many human qualities and characteristics. Very few things are all or none, black or white. In fact, even skin color is not simply black or white. When it comes to skin tones, there are thousands of variations. When discussing introverts and extroverts, one big question is about intelligence. Who is smarter? The most comprehensive analysis was by Jeremy Anglin and his colleagues in 2022. It is a very impressive report that included hundreds of studies over several decades involving more than 162,000 individuals. I need trumpets or a classic drum roll, please. Well, that wasn't exactly what I wanted. Let's try again. Okay, that's a little bit better. And the winner is... OMG, it appears that extroverts and introverts are equally intelligent. So neither orientation offers any significant advantage. Both personality types have an equal chance of being smart, or even stupid for that matter. The next question is about happiness and who has more of it. For many of us, achieving happiness in life is the ultimate goal, and everything else is secondary. As you may know, for some introverts, happiness is closing the elevator door really quickly before anyone else gets in. Wow, that was a close call. It turns out that people higher on extroversion do seem to report more positive emotions and happiness. This doesn't mean that introverts are always miserable, but on average, they do seem to lag behind. This result has been around for over 40 years across many different studies. What's interesting is that we see this pattern mainly in North America. A recent study by Kim and her colleagues in 2018 included 40,000 university students from 5 different countries. At first glance, the results seem to show that extroverts are happier. But this was true only in the USA and Canada. It was really surprising that no difference was found in the United Kingdom, Germany, or Japan. Why would we see this in North America and not in other countries? The main reason is that in our Western culture, extroversion is highly valued and rewarded. We give these individuals higher status and sometimes preferential treatment. Susan Cain, that's C-A-I-N, quit her day job on Wall Street to write a book about how society is geared around extroverts at the expense of introverts. Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, was published in 2012. It's very popular and has been on the U.S. bestseller lists. Cain argues that admiring and rewarding extroversion is everywhere in North America. She believes this is unfair and hinders progress. She is probably right. Even our system of education tends to reward extroverts. It can be terrifying to an introverted student when the teacher says,
"Today we are going to work in groups."
"Oh, teacher, I'm feeling really sick. Can I please go home?"
Group work is often dominated by talkers and more sociable students, and may literally be painful for some individuals. I never use group work in my psychology courses, but it certainly is a very common practice. Many extroverts tend to be loud and proud, but is there really any evidence that you're better off in the workplace and in life if you're strongly extroverted? The most extensive analysis of extroversion and its possible benefits at work was published in 2019 by Wilmot and colleagues at the University of Minnesota. This massive study looked at 165 work-related variables and used data from many countries and different occupations. This research found that higher extroversion was better for about 90% of the work-related variables. It is worth noting that this advantage for extroverts was usually very small. Nothing too dramatic, but certainly there are some benefits in the workplace. Even if we assume that extroversion does truly increase workplace success, there is nothing earth-shaking about this result. This represents only one single strategy. There are lots of other qualities that contribute to workplace success: intelligence, initiative, tenacity, reliability, agreeableness, listening skills, communication skills, sense of humor, self-confidence, drive, creativity, self-reliance, willingness to learn, integrity, and so many more. It's really very narrow-minded to focus on extroversion as if it is the only way to go. This is just another example of black and white thinking. There are so many other possibilities when trying to excel in the workplace. Just check your GPS to identify these different routes to workplace success. Now that would really be true artificial intelligence if we had a GPS system that could show us the shortest route to happiness or success. It would tell us where the slowdowns and obstacles are located and how long before we arrive. Someone really should be working on that. Remember that some of the world's most successful people are introverts. Among them are Microsoft founder Bill Gates, legendary investor Warren Buffett, Harry Potter creator J.K. Rowling, and Oscar-winning actress Meryl Streep. They all show that you don't have to be loud and proud to be successful in life. What about who is best suited to leadership? When appointing leaders, it can be really easy to overlook the quiet person in the room. Author Susan Cain believes that the prejudice in our culture against introversion is deep and profound. She also claims that introverts are routinely passed up for leadership positions. They are viewed as incapable of becoming leaders and inferior to their extroverted colleagues. So the conventional wisdom seems to suggest that extroverts make the best leaders. It is really important to note that I was unable to locate any convincing research that supports this conclusion. Yes, there are plenty of personal opinions, but very little evidence. We just don't know which leadership style is best. So there is a perception that extroverts are better leaders, even though there is no evidence to support this belief. Nonetheless, it seems that extroverts are more likely to be promoted to leadership positions. How can introverts demonstrate their skill if not given the chance? In psychology, this is called a self-fulfilling prophecy, or in very simple terms, a vicious circle. So if I don't ever give you a chance to be a leader, it will be impossible to show me that you can do the job. So if extroverts are better leaders, it may simply be because they are given many more opportunities. So should introverts feel pressure to change their personality? Should they try harder to blend in and conform? Asking an introvert to open up is just as rude as asking an extrovert to shut up. A very bad idea. There is no single route that suits everyone. We should all take advantage of any individual strengths we have to increase our chance of success in the workplace and happiness in life. Someone wisely said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is a failure. In a similar manner, we are blaming introverts because they can't climb trees and ignoring that they are amazing swimmers. Instead of focusing on what a person cannot do, we should emphasize what they can do. Recognize strengths instead of weaknesses. We must stop viewing introverts as somehow defective or inferior. Such beliefs are just another form of prejudice that is widely practiced in our society. It exists in the workplace and also in the education system. As I mentioned before, my daughter is mostly introverted. A few years ago, I explained to her that I'm now mostly extroverted. She responded as if I was Anakin Skywalker, turning into the evil Darth Vader. She told me that I was a traitor who could no longer be trusted and I was out of the club. She meant the club of introverts. Oh, it is true that introverts do have a club, but no one ever shows up for the group meetings. Once again, just kidding, folks. My transformation from being mostly introverted to being mostly extroverted began when I started teaching university courses. I was pushed into the spotlight. I became the center of attention for 50, 100, or 200 students waiting for me to inform and entertain them through the weekly lectures. At this point, I could no longer sit quietly in the background. I could not be reserved, solitary, or withdrawn. I became more outgoing, friendly, positive, energetic, and socially confident. I became less inwardly focused and much more outwardly focused on my students. And as I gained experience, I got better and enjoyed it more. It was like Superman discovering he could fly, or like Peter Parker realizing he had super spider abilities. But as I said before, there is no single path to success or happiness that will work for everyone. As one famous TV personality said, never follow anyone else's path unless you're in the woods and you're lost and you see a path. Then by all means follow that path. No one should be afraid of being different. Just remember, if you are afraid of difference, then you will never make one. Well, all good things must come to an end, including this podcast. But in the words of the Terminator,
I'll be back.
And I hope you will too. If you enjoyed the podcast, please help me to attract more listeners by leaving a positive review. It would be truly awesome if you could follow Psychology Outside the Box on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, folks, it's all over for today. We're finished. We reached the end. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I will miss you so very much.